SMD Law is the official law firm of the Spartan Nation. Check them out on the interwebs at smdalaw.com or at 866-529-3537. No matter where you are in the state of Michigan, Upper Peninsula, Lower Peninsula, it doesn't matter. They have an office near you. So whether you need to send a letter to an annoying neighbor, or you're a criminal and you need defense, maybe you just have problems with elder law, check them out, smdalaw.com today. The official law firm of the Spartan Nation. Call them first, then you act.
Back at Grand Rapids Catholic Central, Coach Meerman. Coach, thanks as always. You're always such a great host. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. Appreciate
Obviously, I can't let you come here and obviously talk about Marcus. But I am going to get to Michel before we leave because I think he has the potential to be really special. But let's start with Marcus.
Yeah.
I asked you on signing day, where is he better since this summer? Mm-hmm. Where is he better now since signing day? Because I think he's exponentially better.
Yeah, a lot of things. I think his approach is different than what it was. He seems to be taking the game really serious right now, and I think that helped in terms of his growth as a leader, like in the last part of our program, of our program's run this year. His leadership, his ability to be vocal with his teammates and with us as coaches, I think he really learned and really bought into that, and I feel like that's carrying right over into the spring. He met with one of our freshmen yesterday and talked to one of our freshmen about the importance of grades and really starting off this freshman year the right way in terms of his academics. And Marcus wouldn't have had that conversation last year with one of our freshmen. But I think his growth on the court, off the court, he's acting like a senior should right now. He's acting like a kid who's from 2 weeks away from being on campus at Michigan State should. He's taking things pretty serious.
I want to ask you about a couple things I noticed. Sometimes I like to go in as a media guy and do interviews. Sometimes I like to just slip in and evaluate, because then if they don't know you're there sometimes.
Yeah.
Two things I noticed out of him. The first game I watched, he played angry at another team. Mm-hmm. I think they thought because he isn't the biggest bulk-wise that they could push him around a little bit, and he just punished them.
Yeah.
The next game I saw, he was a little angry at one of his teammates. Didn't scream at him, but gave him a glare, so much so that you grabbed a guy off the bench and subbed in for him. Uh-huh. Coach, was it just an anomaly that I caught those two games, or did he start to maybe develop an edge?
Yeah, I think he got, he played half the year with us last year, and I think just his comfort level with our system and our expectations, I think he got comfortable, and then as he got comfortable with himself in our system, mm-hmm. he was able to lead other people. It's tough to be a leader when everything's brand new to you, like our pattern break or our defensive calls and rotations. And I think once he got comfortable with everything he was doing, then the next part of just holding himself accountable, holding his teammates accountable, I think that all sort of crept into his leadership role. And you can't play this basketball game. It's a beautiful game. You can't play it without passion. You can't play it and be really competitive at the highest levels without passion. And it was exciting as a coach to see that trickle into his performance this year. Like Marcus, I think last year he wanted to play. He just wanted to play. And this year on our court, and it took our team further than any team in the history of this school has ever been. But this year he wanted to win, and that's a big difference from last year to this year for him.
I hate AAU. I don't hate all the coaches. I think there are a lot of really good coaches. I do think there are some scumbags, but I don't think they all are by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
But you go somewhere and play 30 games in a weekend, and losing doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
It's no big deal because there's another game. That finals hurt.
Yeah.
And I started, that's why I had to ask you. I didn't want to ask him. Is basketball becoming more than something he plays now and something he loves?
Yeah, I think that's probably a good way to coin it. He's he definitely flipped from that just playing the game to trying to win every game, and I think part of that was like our teammates and our coaches. Like we had much higher expectations for him this year. Because he had a whole entire offseason to build that rapport with his teammates, and we knew what he was capable of, and we also know where he wants to go. So, like I said, he flipped from just playing to play to playing to win, and he's going to have to amp that up again. It's going to have to go to a whole nother level when he gets to Michigan State, because now he's playing. Every player that he's playing with is a McDonald's All-American or an All-State player at the least, and if he wants to make that jump and be competitive right away, we talk about it all the time. Like, he's got to have another gear in terms of his competitiveness when he gets to Michigan State to go against the players he's going to go against. So.
Obviously, Jaren Jackson's a great player. He's going to be a top 5 pick in a couple weeks. But I just mentioned to Marcus, I think there was a big difference in their game. I think Marcus is a better ball handler, right or wrong.
Correct. I think so too. Yeah.
And he said he's a better shooter.
Yeah. They go back and forth all the time. Every time I've seen them interact at practices and shooting competition after practice, it's which one of them shoots better. Jaren was shooting close to 40% from the arc during the season, and Mark was at like 47 for me. And they were going back and forth, and Jaren was telling them, "Oh, that's high school, and this is the Big Ten." So they go back and forth, but I give it to Mark too. I tell Mark, I can't touch him in a one-on-one game, but I'm an old man, and he still has never beat me in a shooting game. So, but it's something Mark takes pride in. Yesterday after school, he was in my classroom for an hour working on homework. We left here, we went in the gym. He probably shot 500 shots on the gun. He takes a lot of pride in his shooting, because when he just interviewed here in the same chair and told you, like, I just work, and that's just what he does. He is a gym rat, and I mean that in the most positive way. So,
Jaren Jackson, it was a whole new world when he shows up at Michigan State, and they have a massive calorie diet, and he's eating all the time. If he's not eating food, he's drinking protein-packed shakes, eating all the time. And Jaren said to me, it takes discipline to eat when you're not hungry. Now, I'm a fat guy. I know how to do that. I'm disciplined.
Right.
Do you think that will be a tough adjustment for him? Because
No.
Jaren said it was.
I think it'll be an adjustment for him. But that boy Marcus, he likes to eat. He eats. He's eating all the time right now. I think he's a little bit nervous about that transition that's going to take place at State. But like, we're quizzing him every morning. What was for breakfast? Making sure he gets the right foods in his system right now, because we are lifting, we are getting after it in the weight room right now, and he has to have that good food source in his body.
So tell me about what he eats now.
In the mornings for breakfast, it's eggs, bananas, milk, a lot of high protein stuff, just calories. He needs calories of any kind, because he is burning them off. After school, he works out for about 45 minutes in the weight room 3 times a week with us right now. After that, we're on the gun, or we're getting some skill work in. And then after that, most nights, he'll go home and relax for a little bit, do some homework, and then be back at the gym. So he's still burning a lot of calories. But that's what I'm looking forward to seeing, that Jaren Jackson transition in Marcus. If he can put on the same, 20 to 25 pounds in 4 to 5 months, I think it's going to be an exciting fall for Michigan State for Marcus.
I've got to ask you this because it's important. He has grown so much as a young man. He's going to graduate here mid-May. And most of his finals he doesn't even have to take because his grades are so good.
Yeah.
That's not on you. It's not on his parents. That's all Marcus. How proud are you? Because to me, that's a miracle story about him.
Yeah. Beyond proud of him. For a kid to come in the situation that he was in, when he first tried to enroll, we didn't let him into school because his grades were so low. Our principal made that decision later on after he reapplied, and for him to work and for him to just be eligible to enroll at Michigan State is a beautiful thing. He left my classroom a few days ago. We forgot to officially apply at Michigan State. He had to fill out his application. So we just finished that. He got up, left, and said, "Thank you, Coach. I appreciate it." Gave me a 5 and walked down to the gym to get some shots up. So, like those little moments like that, I appreciate as a coach. But I was lucky enough to get my college paid for through this year. Great game of basketball, and Mark is going to be the next guy to do that. And and in the future, I tell him all the time, when he's done playing, he's going to have to come back, and I want him to do the same thing, no matter what he's doing. If he's teaching, coaching, or owning a business, I want him doing the same thing for the next generation, because this school, school of CC, and the people here, his teachers here, they've changed the young man's life. I mean, he had to dedicate himself, but this is a special place too.
But you just heard me mention to him, I have never had a player credit his school
Yeah.
when I've interviewed him.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
And I've interviewed thousands of players.
Yeah.
I thought that was a pretty special moment. What do you think?
I think so too. I think, part of it is his mom and dad. I know they're reminding him all the time about what he gets while he's here, and I think he just feels thankful to be in this position. Like I said, I tell this story all the time because it's funny, it makes me laugh. But in the meeting with Izzo, when Coach Izzo first offered him a scholarship and asked him, what are your goals and what are your dreams? And Mark, at that time, he didn't talk a lot. He was real short, and he said, "I'm not sure, Coach." And Coach Izzo said, "Do you want to win a Big Ten title? You want to, play in the NBA?" And he looked Coach dead in the eye and said, "Hey, Coach, to be honest with you, I'm just trying to graduate high school. Like, that would be a big step for me." I think we look at a 6'11" kid and forget that he's a kid. He's only 17 years old. He's going to graduate at 17. He's going to be on campus at Michigan State at 17 years old. He's still got a lot of growth to do, but just in the last 2 years, he's grown up.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
All right, I can't get out of here without asking about Michel, his little brother.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be really, really special.
Yeah.
Has a lot of the same things. He needs to gain weight and all that.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to I think he's farther along than where Marcus was at this age. And I'm going to tell you why before you laugh at me.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's gotten to see from Mark the process,
Yeah.
what it takes. And I think that intelligence, not that Mark wasn't, but that ability to say, because Mark didn't know what he didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Michael's like, okay, now I know because I learned from Mark. I think it puts him ahead a little bit. Where's this kid at?
He's a little bit unknown because
he was on a loaded
he was
team.
on a loaded team, and he was a sophomore on a loaded team. But also, I looked at how he handled that situation, and there were some games where, the semifinal game when Mark and Jacob and Darryl were all in foul trouble, and Michel and two other sophomores played for most of the second quarter against Romeo Weems and the #1 team in the state on a 52-game win streak, and carried us through that second quarter. But I think, he's got to keep putting the skill work in to really work on his shot the way we have been lately with him. But the things he does better than Mark, I think he runs the floor better right now. He's faster in transition than Mark was. And Mark will tell you, at the same age, I think Michel is better. He'll say he's got a long way to go to get to me, but I think Michel jumps a little better off of 1 foot, so it makes him a little bit better in transition in terms of just beating guys up the floor and scoring in transition. He instinctively loves to rebound a lot more than Mark does, and Coach and DJ will tell you that's one thing Mark's going to have to get better at before he gets to Michigan State. But also, that's one thing that just weight room and food will help Marcus with. But Michel, he's just got a knack for angles and finding the ball, which really helps him on the offensive and defensive glass. So
You told me over a year ago that Michel was going to be a high Division I prospect.
Yeah.
You still believe it?
Absolutely. I think by the time, he has goals, we have goals for him, but I think, by the time next year gets here, he starts his junior year off with us with weight room, with just maturity that comes with time. I think you're going to see an entirely different player than what you saw this year. And I really think next year he's going to explode onto the scene.
He's very close with Marcus. Do you think they'd like to play together?
Yeah, I think they...
I'm not asking you to speak for him. I'm just asking your opinion.
Not at all. But my younger brother was a sophomore on varsity playing with me my senior year, and it was one of my my best memories. Was pregame meals at Subway with my younger brother, and then going and playing a ball game. I know those two loved every moment of that this year. And in fact, we had debated playing Michel a little bit on JV because of how much talent we had on the varsity team. But part of them, part of the experience for Michel is number one, he's a varsity player, and number two, I know what it's like to play with my brother, and I want to make sure those two boys had a chance to do that because. It might not happen. I hope it does happen again, but it might not happen ever again where they're on the same team, wearing the same uniform. But they're really close. They do everything together. They come to the gym together, walk to school together, and they're just two really good kids. They're a lot of fun to be around.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach,
Yeah,
for
thank
sharing
you.
your time as always, brother.
No problem.